Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course, and I want to give my commentary on Nene Leakes' interview with her best friend per the contract during season 3. And they may not be best friends today, but they are definitely close friends, Cynthia Bailey. And this interview just dropped on Nene Leakes' YouTube channel today. Wednesday, May 7th. So be sure to check it out. You will enjoy it. It really was like a conversation between two girlfriends who go way back. And I definitely enjoyed it. It was very nostalgic. It was a fun trip down memory lane. And Nene and Cynthia, they really had some grown women conversation, and I enjoyed it. And we're going to get into what the title of my video says. Nene Leakes says going public with your man helps his PUSSY game. Now, before we get into the details, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. So, what I appreciate about Nene Leakes, she said it during this interview that she is a confident woman, and she's definitely not a hater, and she is confident because in these interviews, when she's talking with anyone who is familiar with the Real Housewives of Atlanta, she will reference the current cast, the current season. It's not like she's pretending like it doesn't exist, like a hater would. She's acknowledging it. She's giving like commentary, and I can appreciate it. And she talked about her interactions with the cast. And she said, I've known Shamia from when Shamia has filmed on the show in seasons past. I know Drew. She's great. She said, I met Kelly. She said, Kelly sat, she finished her meal. I finished my meal. We were chit chatting. She talked kind of like Kelly gives you that feeling like you've known her a long time. That was how I took it. She said she's known Angela. And she said, I saw Britt out, but she did not say anything to me. And Nene left it at that. It was very professional. She said what it was in a professional way. And because of what we've seen so far of Britt Edie on this current season, Sweet 16 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, honey, she did not have to say much else. Now, the interview opened up with Cynthia and Nene discussing how they met. Cynthia moved from New York to Atlanta for her relationship with Peter Thomas. Bravo expressed that they were interested in Cynthia, and Cynthia called Nene, and the two of them met up at a restaurant called Papados. Nene said that she thought Cynthia was quiet, and that seems to be spot on because Cynthia actually thought that she herself was not a good fit for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I actually believe that it's important to have a reality TV show character such as Cynthia Bailey, who can be neutral or be the neutralizer, someone who can bring everyone together, who is also not very confrontational. And some of us here on earth, we are not confrontational. So we can see ourselves, even if it's to an extent, through Cynthia Bailey. And this personality type is definitely present in real life. And sometimes this personality type who's not confrontational, very jovial, sometimes this person goes through a lot because people are always testing them to see if they will speak up for themselves. And I think that we saw this on the Real Housewives of Atlanta with Cynthia. We saw where she straight up, she was being truly who she is. She did not really like confrontation. Sometimes it showed up more on her face than anything else. Like when Nene called Peter the B word. It was when Nene left the auction, the charity that Kenya Moore hosted, that she said was in honor of Nene Leakes and her favorite charity for women who are getting out of abusive relationships and starting over. So Kenya throws this dating auction, says that it was in honor of Nene, and she barely invited her. According to Kenya, she sent her an evite and she could see where Nene opened it. But for Nene, that wasn't good enough. Bitch, call me and let me know if something is in honor of me. And I totally get where Nene Leakes was coming from. So Nene goes to the event. She only knew what to wear because Cynthia told her what to wear. And she came, she gave a really short speech, then she left. Peter did not like it. They were talking, and it looked like Kenya rented like a mansion, and they were like still on the property, but not at the mansion proper where the auction was. And Peter was saying, I don't like it. This is supposed to be for you. It's a bad look. I don't like you acting this way. So he and Nene exchanged words, and she called him the B word. And he said that was so inappropriate. And you could see on Cynthia's face where she did not like Nene disrespecting her husband. But right then and there, she really did not, have much to say. But I think, again, that is a very realistic personality. Everyone is not going to be so quick to curse someone out or to escalate things. So I think that that's fine. And above all else, you can only be yourself anyway. So I'm glad that Cynthia Bailey has been on the Real Housewives of Atlanta for as long as she did, because she gave us another personality type. And also, Cynthia Bailey has always gone against the stereotype of Black women being angry, being ghetto, and just Black people in general being so quick to be violent. So I'm glad that she was there. Plus, she's this beautiful supermodel who has had this incredible career. And I'll be honest, growing up, the only models that I was familiar with, supermodels, were Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell. And then from a Black history perspective, I learned about the very first Black supermodel, which was Beverly Johnson. And she was a guest star on the show Martin before. And in her personal life, she dated actor Chris Noth, who played Mr. Big on Sex and the City. He also played on Law and Order until they retired his character. But Beverly Johnson, I learned like in a scholastic environment that she was the very first Black supermodel. And then growing up, I knew of Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell. And then, a couple of the girls who were in the music videos like Veronica Webb. And then once Cynthia Bailey joined the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I got to learn of another beautiful Black supermodel. So it was totally meant for Cynthia Bailey to join the Real Housewives of Atlanta cast. Now, the only difference is with seeing Cynthia on TV versus her personality type on earth and in all other environments is that she was able to make a lot of money getting tested. So kudos for her to that. And we even saw Peter disrespecting Cynthia. I remember it was like around season 6, 7, 8-ish, somewhere up in there. Peter wanted his own apartment. They were having financial issues because his bar at the time, the Atlanta location, was having trouble. So the owner of the bar was taking Peter's monthly rent, but he was not applying that money towards the mortgage. So the owner of the commercial property was losing the property, and Peter didn't know. It was the bank who let Peter know, we're about to foreclose on this property, and he had to shut down that Bar One location. So they were having financial difficulties. He was tired of the arguments at home. He wanted his own apartment. Cynthia said, absolutely not. Peter was like cursing her out, and it was very disturbing to watch. And then she said, you don't have to express yourself, with such profanity. And then he got mad about that. And then he got up from the table and was cursing while he walked away. It was like a horrible scene. But that was just another example of her personality type being tested, but in her own marriage. I always thought that Peter Thomas was a douchebag to Cynthia, a cute guy, chocolate with the gray beard, light eyes, definitely a cutie pie, but a douchebag. Okay. And she definitely did not marry him for the money or material possessions. She definitely liked him, the person. Peter even said that at a reunion. He said, Cynthia had been engaged a few times. We saw her say that her very first season, season 3, where she like called herself the runaway bride. And Peter Thomas said, she's been with very rich men, but yet she fell for me. Yes, Peter, you were very, very lucky to nail someone like Cynthia Bailey. Cynthia talked about filming on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She said that it was fun and very lighthearted. She said that the things that they argued about were such lighter issues. And she said, I wish we had such arguments on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I think that's just like a cultural difference. And they're different people on Beverly Hills. I watch Beverly Hills. I prefer the original seasons, those first few seasons when Brandy Glanville joins and her foot is in a boot and she says, I got friends who do Crystal METH and they act like her, and she pointed to Kim Richards, and Kim and Kyle start going off on her because they're so shocked. Like, those are the seasons of Beverly Hills that Ebony likes, okay? And but I still think it's cool to watch. But I feel you, Cynthia, but it's like cultural differences, and the audiences are different as well. And Cynthia Bailey said that she and Peter do keep in touch. She said that the jail sentence had been weighing on him, just over his head like a cloud. She said he's known about it for a while before it went public. And so she told him, just go in there, do your time so you can get out and start anew. So I feel like she's given him some great advice. There's been a lot of negative things said about how he runs his business, allegedly. Tasha K, it's been at least a year now, perhaps even this interview may have even happened in 2023, where she interviewed a lady who managed the Miami Bar One. And she said some wild things. Allegedly, some of the employees were undocumented. And if they tried to ask about getting money, getting paid, there was like the threat of going to ICE, stuff like that. That's alleged now. And this is reportedly what was told to Tasha K. So you can check out that interview on her channel. Nene brought up how well Cynthia and the actor Leon co-parented their daughter Noelle. And in my opinion, they were a strong blended family. When I think of Cynthia, Peter, and Thomas and Noelle being a blended family, I think about Cynthia and Peter's wedding reception, season 3. And Leon is dancing with Noelle. She's just a little girl. I guess she's about 6 years old. And she's just adorable. And Sheree said it at the season 3 reunion. She said, Cynthia, I would love to have that relationship with my ex and the father of my kids the way that you do with Noelle's dad. She said how she watched them dance at the reception and she just thought it was so beautiful. And Cynthia thanked her, and she agreed. And I think that that's a blessing because, sometimes people have a horrible drama with the exes. And white people too have, like, your white coworkers confided in you about what they go through with their current partner's ex, like the mother of the kid. Oh my gosh. They say that, they going through hell. So I think that that's a huge blessing that Peter, Cynthia, and Leon could get along so well for the kid, for Noelle. So she knows that she's loved. And when Cynthia and Peter were divorcing, remember season 9, Noelle asked Peter to go to a yoga class with her. He went to the yoga class, and when it was over, they were talking in the parking lot. And Noelle said, you and mom just decided that your marriage would end. Nobody talked with me and asked me what I thought. You have been in my life for a long time. And they were emotional. They were holding back tears. It was a really deep scene. That was probably the most vulnerable and likable that Peter Thomas had been in a scene ever, for me at least. So I know that they were a family. And I'm always sorry when marriages end because, like, I've stood up in a wedding before and then that marriage did not make it. And it's like two people, at one point, they were in love to the point where they agreed to get under this covenant with God. That's the spiritual side. And in the legal side, you're filing with the government that the two of you are in love. And they go from taking vows to protect each other, to be with each other no matter what, to being vicious and dirty and ugly and mean to each other in divorce court. It's wild. It's a wild two ends of the spectrum. So I am sorry to see them break up, but I do feel like it was the best for Cynthia. But they were a great blended family, and kudos to Leon. And Cynthia or Nene asked Cynthia about Noel, and according to Cynthia, Noel is still fluid. And the way that I take that as, and this is just a um, very high level definition, nothing specific. The way I interpret being fluid is kind of like being, you're just open to dating people regardless of their gender. That's how I take it. And when Nene asked Cynthia, is Noelle still fluid? She says she is. And to circle it back to the show, I liked how Cynthia did that. It was very clear and crisp and quick. She said, I always wanted Noelle to feel supported. I always wanted her to know that she could talk to me about anything. And Nene complimented her. She said, you can tell that you would raise Noelle right because of how she is. And I always felt like the two of you had a great relationship and that Noelle could talk to you about anything. So she complimented Cynthia on her parenting. That was a great atonement for season 6 when they went to Savannah, Georgia. And Cynthia was so upset that she started crying. She was sobbing when Nene talked about, and Cynthia brought it up where they disagreed on Noelle having a boyfriend. Remember, it was a young boy, and him and his mom came over to the house. And Nene did not agree with that. And she was talking about how girls are so fast these days, and me and Phaedra got boys. And Cynthia felt really bad. So for Nene to compliment her during this talk show episode, I thought that it was a great atonement for that mistake during season 6 because it upset Cynthia so bad. So that is some grown woman-ish. That is maturing, and that is understanding Cynthia's boundary. So kudos to Nene on that. And yeah, so I'm looking at my notes here where she complimented Cynthia on having an open line of communication. So sometimes I'm like looking right into my webcam as if I'm on camera and I'm speaking from the heart. And then I'll go back to my notes like, oh, I've already talked about that. Now, Nene asked Cynthia if she wanted any more kids. And Cynthia said, or she asked her, did she wish she ever had more kids? And Cynthia said no, because she was always career driven and she wanted to be financially independent. She said she never wanted to depend on a man. And that is another trait that we need to see more and more of. There has to be a balance between living the soft life and being financially independent. Because if you do make enough money where you're not struggling, then you can still live the soft life as a single woman. I don't have any kids, but if I had a daughter, I would just tell her, I want to teach you how to pay your bills on time, save your money every month on a regular basis in the event that you are single. And even if you get married, I don't want you to depend on his income should, God forbid, the marriage doesn't last. I just want you to be as self-sufficient as possible. And I think that that's a very good lesson to learn. I remember Cynthia Bailey saying that her mother was in abusive relationships. And when Kenya did her PSA on DV, her mom spoke on it and got emotional. Cynthia Bailey said she remembered walking in as a kid and seeing the man beating up her mom, and Cynthia as a girl jumping on the guy for beating up her mama. So I think that she took that trauma and made it a positive, because I don't think it's like I see it as being a trauma response, but it's a healthier trauma response, that she wanted to be financially independent. I think that's a healthier trauma response. So I totally understand her and I feel her. Nene and Cynthia talked about going public with their men, honey. Now, Cynthia is dating someone. She calls him her boyfriend. And she said that although TMZ did spot them out, they intentionally choose not to post each other on their social media accounts because they find that social media is not conducive to maintaining healthy romantic relationships. They feel like people online are too judgmental and it's too toxic. I totally understand. And she said, so they do not post. And Nene agreed. She said that when you go public with your man, you open your partner up to other people flirting with them and tempting them to cheat on you. Nene said that you help your partner with their PUSSY game when you go public with them, and I totally agree. This actually reminded me of Jermaine Dupri when he said that dating Janet Jackson, going public, it caused more women to flirt with him than normal, than usual. Because let's be real, who was checking for Jermaine Dupri? Like when it came out that Janet Jackson was dating him, everybody was like, huh? But she was dating him. She seemed to be in love because right when the Super Bowl drama happened, she had this song that was out. Is it I Want You? Where she's on the subway train and she's like, it looks like the video might have been filmed in New York and she's like watching the kids play sports. And then at the end, she walks up to Jermaine Dupri and they hug and kiss. So I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Jermaine Dupri because he was basically saying that he cheated on Janet Jackson, which how do you cheat on Janet Jackson when like she upgraded you? But he was saying like once they went public, it was just so easy for, women were like approaching him. And so it just kind of like took him to the next level. So I totally can see that. And I'm sure if we think hard enough, there are some other couples where you think going public helped them look more attractive, seem more attractive. What couples would you say would fall into that category? But I thought they had great conversation. Definitely check it out. This is probably my favorite episode of Nene Leakes' talk show thus far, her conversation with Cynthia Bailey. Thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video as it is a free way of supporting the channel. And please subscribe to Shows, Style, and Spirit if you have not already done so. I hope that you have had a wonderful Wednesday. I did. I cannot complain. After work, I went to the park because it was feeling warm. But so I walked for 25 minutes, but I could sense I could feel the wind blowing and a chill. And then so I went to the gym and I walked some more on the treadmill. Then I closed out on the bike, and then it was definitely chilly. So I've made some ginger tea. I'm going to drink that, just to make sure because the weather is still up and down. But I hope that you had a great evening. And while you're watching your favorite YouTubers, be sure to grab your bottled water, grab some fruit or some yogurt, get something healthy in you while you're being entertained. And I will talk with you all soon. Bye.